Hello, everybody. It's Dr. Mike. We're going to begin the nutritional component of the Renew program. I'm really excited about this. Um, this will really start to take your health to a new level, but we do have a lot of information to get through, so let's hurry up and get started. Um, I often tell a lot of my patients that, the standard American diet, it's killing ourselves and it's killing our kids. A lot of times I hear people make the comment that, yeah, everything will kill you or everything will give you cancer. Well, if you don't want to do it for you, and you don't want to make some lifestyle changes with your nutrition, then, maybe some of this information will explain enough to you to realize how your actions are leading your children or maybe your nieces or grandchildren and leading them down the same path of sickness and disease later on. So let's get going. I like to go over just a little bit about the SAD reality. And again, if you remember what SAD stands for, is SAD stands for the Standard American Diet. So the sad reality in our country is that, we have 60 million Americans are overweight, okay? 65% of the population, 30% of those are obese. We're getting heart disease deaths in the United States every 34 seconds and cancer deaths. 1,500 people die each day, 3,400 are diagnosed each day. Right now the United States is the number one most obese country on the earth. So, we're not doing too hot with the health of our population. Okay? This isn't baby fat either. They say that 20% of American 4-year-olds are obese. The Canadian childhood obesity has more than tripled in the last 20 years. So, you may not think it's a big deal or if it's just baby fat or whatnot, but the fact of the matter is, an overweight adolescent has a 70% chance of becoming overweight or obese adults. And again, all that information is from the archives of pediatrics and adolescent medicine. There's a big cause and effect when we start gaining weight, okay? Just a 15-pound weight gain doubles your risk of contracting type 2 diabetes. 22-pound weight gain increases your risk of heart attack by 75%. So, and being obese, again, that doubles your risk of heart failure, triples your risk for breast cancer in women. So, we have a lot of this breast cancer awareness. That's a really big program out there right now. And the fact of the matter is that breast cancer just, even though we're funding millions upon millions of dollars into breast cancer research, what's happening to breast cancer? Is it going down? Are the rates going down? Or are they going up? They keep going up and up and up. And, if you look at the statistics, the fact of the matter is if we could just get our weight epidemic under control, that would greatly reduce how many women are getting breast cancer. And it's a simple thing to do, okay? You guys know I love going over Mythbusters. So Mythbuster number one is what we hear a lot is that heart disease and cancer are normal with aging. This couldn't be further from the truth. Heart disease and cancer are very, very common in North America, but just because it's common does not mean that it's normal. Just because you get old doesn't mean that getting heart disease and cancer should be something that just occurs and is a normal process, okay? It's common, but it's not normal. How do we know this? Well, if we start looking at some studies, in the United States, 84% of people that live in the U.S. Die from heart disease or cancer, okay? Now, if you look at in Okinawa, a third world country, only 1% of those people die from heart disease or cancer, okay? So, cancer, heart disease, a lot of times we hear that it's all genetics. Oh, I have the gene, or I have, my mom had it, so I'm going to get it. Heart disease runs in my family. Again, pharmaceutical companies love to use it's all genetics tagline, because if it's your gene, then it's just something that happens to you, and then you're going to have what for the rest of your life? You're going to have their medications to keep you so-called healthy. But the fact of the matter is, when you look at the research out there, they state that only 5% of cancers and heart disease comes from hereditary factors. The fact of the matter is 95% of heart disease and cancer comes from lifestyle choices, okay? So that means how we think, how we eat, how we live our lives, and how we act, the choices we make. Again, you guys are doing a great thing. You're taking the steps to educate yourself and hopefully to educate your family. If we look at the leading causes of death in the United States, we look at this from the CDC. This is where this information was taken. And we take the 10 leading causes of death in the United States. You look at number 1, they say heart disease, 800,000. Cancers is 750,000. Then we get down into, all this other stuff. Cerebrovascular, that's like your strokes, your bronchitis, emphysema, unintentional injuries, diabetes, liver disease, suicide. Everything here in this top 10 list, I added one right here, 2A, 420,000 people die each year. That's actually from properly prescribed meds. That's from some research that was done, but we never see that listed in the top 10 leading causes of death, so I thought I would put that in there. Anyway, I color coordinated this because if you look at this, out of the top 10 leading causes of death, everything that's red is all diet and lifestyle related. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 8 out of the top 10 leading causes of death are due to lifestyle choices. These are things that can be directly affected by the choices you make and how you live your life, what you put in your body, how you exercise, toxins you're exposed to, etc. Okay? And again, this is what the Renew program is all about. It's about trying to minimize your risk of contracting these things. Okay? I find it funny if you look down here. I do a lot of these talks in schools, and I'm sure you've all heard the, don't do drugs. This is a drug-free zone and whatnot. But when we look at the statistics, illegal drugs, they kill. Illegal drugs cause 17,000 deaths per year. But we look at how many people are dying each year by poor lifestyle choices or what we put into our body, and it's over 2 million. Why aren't we educating our youth on how to really get healthy? Okay, should we worry about the 17,000? Well, yes, drugs aren't good. However, what's the biggest risk factor that we're looking at? That the risk factor that we have with our youth is the standard American diet, what we're teaching them, what health is. We look at what they're feeding our kids in schools. We're looking at the vending machines, and we're just perpetuating this problem. So basically, if you want to be healthy, it's all about lifestyle. So, hey, you can make your own decisions, but remember, your decisions have a huge impact on your family and those that you influence. Now, when we get into the nutrition, the most damaging foods in the standard American diet are the macronutrients, your fats over here, your proteins, and your carbohydrates. So, Americans eat, more no-fat or low-fat foods than any other country on the planet. Yet, we already saw that statistic. Who's the most obese country on earth? Well, Americans are. So obviously, there's something to do with no-fat foods does not equal you not being fat. We'll go over a little bit more about that later on, okay? When we get into the proteins, again, Americans are eating commercially raised beef or chicken. That equals toxins and altered fat ratios. And then our carbohydrates that we're consuming, we consume a lot of sugar and processed foods that turn into sugar. So again, all the typical American foods in the standard American diet are full of toxins. So we're going to go over that a little bit as well, briefly. So let's get started. So let's look at these macronutrients. So let's start with the fats, okay? Here's Mythbuster number 2. Fat in meat causes heart disease, cancer, osteoporosis, kidney disease. These are the taglines that the food industry is always putting out there. Oh, fat in meat causes heart disease. Stay away from beef and things of that nature. But the fact of the matter is, the truth is, that's a myth. The truth is, it's the damaged fat in meat that causes all these things. Okay, it's not good meat. It's the damaged fat that's found in the meat. When we look at grass-fed meat and people who have lived in grass-fed meat-eating societies, they have lived free of heart disease and cancer for centuries. Okay, saturated fat is an important fat at the cellular level. It actually prevents heart disease. It does not cause it. Okay, this may be hard for some of you to understand right now, but it will make sense as we go along here. So just bear with me. So this fat has a very bad rap. Okay, if we look at the incidence of heart attacks throughout the century, in 1910, heart attacks were almost non-existent. In 1930, they had about 3,000 deaths per year. 1960, that climbed up to 500,000 deaths per year. In 2010, it was 800,000 deaths per year. You know, well, look at that dramatic increase. You know, what's changed? The thing that changed was this whole lipid hypothesis was born. The whole fat causes heart attacks, or we needed the low-fat diet. Okay, now the low-fat diet, I like to put a big X through here because we shouldn't call the low-fat diet the low-fat diet. We should call it the low-fat high obesity diet, because that's what these low-fat diets create. Okay, so again, we have more low-fat foods and low-fat diets in the United States than anywhere in the world, yet we have the highest obesity rate. Again, since the 60s and 70s, our dietary fat is down from 40% to 34%. Our butter and meat consumption has dropped by approximately 50% in that same time frame. Margarine, we've been told, is healthier than butter, and our consumption has rose 400%. Now, what has happened to heart disease and obesity the whole time we've been decreasing our fats? Well, you guessed it. They've rose dramatically, and both in heart disease and obesity. In fact, obesity is up from 14% to 22%. So it keeps getting more and more and more. So again, this lipid hypothesis has been proven. Now, what that lipid hypothesis was that elevated fat and cholesterol in the blood is what causes heart disease. And the fact is, there has never been a randomized research study that has been able to link a low-fat diet and lower cholesterol to a lower risk of coronary heart disease. That may be surprising to you guys, but trust me, if there's anybody out there that can find that, go ahead and send it to me, because I've looked, I know plenty of other doctors, there's never been a research study showing that. In fact, more people have heart attacks with normal cholesterol than with elevated cholesterol. Bet you didn't know that. So there is a higher death rate among people with lower cholesterol than high cholesterol. Again, that was in the British Medical Journal. So Mythbuster number 3 is that, get this out of your head, this whole myth about fat makes you fat. That is not the truth. The truth is, fat does not make you fat. It's your body's inability to burn fat that makes you fat. Okay? In actuality, healthy fats help your body burn fat. Okay? Your body can't recognize trans fats, which decrease the ability of your body to be able to burn it. So again, it's not healthy saturated fats that cause these problems. It's these damaged fats, or what we call trans fats. Okay, so we're going to explain the difference to you here in a little bit. So, healthy fat, healthy saturated fat is absolutely essential for proper functioning of your body. Why is that? Well, let's look at some things that healthy fat does. It helps build cell membranes. Okay, well, let's think about this a little bit. What is the basic building block of your entire body? If you break it all the way down, the fact of the matter is, we are made up of 70 trillion little cells. That's what we're made up. So at the cellular level, okay, we are made up of 70 trillion cells, and then that creates the one whole of us. So if healthy fat helps build our cell membranes, do you think that that might be important? Absolutely. Healthy fats help us absorb vitamins, helps cushion vital organs. It helps protect us from extreme temperatures. It regulates and makes up the building blocks of our hormones. That's really critically important, right? Right now, we're facing an epidemic of women and all these hormone issues. Okay, so again, it's very funny that we have all this non-fat food, yet we have these huge epidemic proportions of hormone-related issues. Okay, again, healthy fats help lowers inflammation, prevents the oxidation of the cholesterol. Now, the oxidation of cholesterol, that is the true cause of heart disease. Healthy fats allow for proper cellular detoxification through the cell membrane. Healthy fats actually, they make up 70% of our brain tissue, because what is our brain made of? It's made up of 70% is fat. So guess what? If we don't have healthy fats in our diets, okay, and we're not putting good healthy building blocks into our system, or those good healthy fats, how does your body replenish and rejuvenate and remake new brain tissue? It makes it very, very difficult, okay? Healthy fats also have what's called conjugated linoleic acid, or CLA. Now, that's the hormone that tells your body to burn fat for energy. So if we're not getting these good healthy fats into our system, we're not getting the building blocks or this conjugated linoleic acid to tell our brain to, hey, go ahead and use this fat and burn it for energy. Okay? Healthy fats are also important in the formation of arachidonic acid, and that's important for brain function. And, you know, hey, guess what? Healthy fats are also the preferred fuel for your heart. Okay? So, really, really important. Fat is good, healthy, saturated fats are the #1 missing ingredient in the standard American diet, okay, for health. So let's look at a saturated fat study. Again, this was from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. They did a study on 235 women, and what they found was those who regularly ate the highest amounts of saturated fat exhibited, look at this, the least amount of plaque buildup in their arteries, a healthier balance of good and bad cholesterol, and blood concentration of other fats, and better overall health. Pretty neat, right? So what are these healthy fats that we need to get into our diet? Well, healthy fats consist of our olive oils, fish oils, hemp seed oil, flax and flax oil, things like avocados, nuts, seeds, coconuts. Real butter, you guys. Real butter is important. Raw is best. If you can get raw, that's great. It's a little bit difficult to get that, but you know, raw cheeses, yogurts, and whole milks. Now again, raw being best. Grass-fed red meats, free-range chicken and eggs, and then our fatty fish, our Pacific or wild salmon, or our smaller fish like sardines and whatnot. Again, they're lower on the food chain. They have less toxins. So if you're eating a lot of non-fat foods, then that means you're eating a lot of trans fat foods, or those damaged fats. So anytime you see on a label non-fat or low fat, you automatically replace in your mind non-fat with the word trans fat or damaged fat, because that's exactly what it means. So what are trans fats? Well, trans fats are anything that are hydrogenated, or any oils that turn into trans fats when heated. So things like that would be your soybean oils on ingredients, your corn oils, your safflower oils, cottonseed oil, canola oil. Anybody know what canola stands for? No, I'll tell you. You know, there's no such thing as a canola plant. Canola oil is actually made from rapeseed, but you know, they probably didn't want an oil called rape oil, because it'd probably be a marketing nightmare. So canola actually stands for Canadian oil low acid. So that's what canola oil is. Margarine, high in trans fats. All of your breads, crackers, cookies, and you see it a lot in salad dressings. All these things are rancid. They have a bunch of damaged fats, hydrogenated trans fats, things of that nature, and they wreak havoc on the body. Okay, so let's look at this. Let's talk about a little bit about inflammation. Now, there's a lot of times we talk about inflammation being the root cause of all disease, and that's what it is. There's a Time magazine article stating that, hey, the root cause of every disease process out there is inflammation, and inflammation at the cellular level. So let's look at this real quick. In A right up here, this is a normal artery, and you see how nice and big it is. And right here is a cross-section of this artery. So we have the arterial wall, we have a nice big opening. Now down here in B, we have this narrow artery, and when we look at the cross-section, we have less space for all the blood and everything to travel through. And then we get down to C, it's totally occluded. There's all this inflammation and scarring that occludes this, and it's very hard for you to get blood and nutrients to all the cells, tissues, and organs in the body. Now, here's a question for you. Let's say that this person has, up here, has high cholesterol, and this person has low cholesterol. Which person gets a heart attack? It's going to be this person, right? Cholesterol, it doesn't matter about your cholesterol numbers. What matters is the amount of inflammation in your body. And what causes inflammation? The three things that cause inflammation are trans fats, okay, are damaged fats, sugars cause inflammation, and toxins. So trans fats, sugar, and toxins cause what? Inflammation, okay? And it's inflammation and oxidation of cholesterol that causes all this, the heart disease, cancers, and things of that nature. So let's start off some trans fat. Let's talk a little bit about that. In 2006, food manufacturers were forced to list the amount of trans fats in their products. That's because consumers started to become aware and go, hey, maybe these trans fats aren't very good, because now there's some research showing that, you know, even though we have these trans fats and these margarines and whatnot, and again, the reason they started making these was so they could have a long shelf life, so food companies, foods wouldn't spoil, so therefore they have a higher profit margin. However, as they started doing that more and more, they started to see these all the heart disease and whatnot rise, and so then they did some more study on these trans fats and found like, whoa, these aren't good. Our body can't recognize them. They're damaged fats, and these are the things that cause a lot of problems. So in 2006, they said, hey, food manufacturers, you need to list if there's trans fats in your products, because these aren't healthy. Well, that's a good thing, right? Yeah, it's good, but what's not good is that these food manufacturers were like, well, geez, that's going to cut into our profit margin. So they got their lobbyists, and then they got it to where they manipulated the law to allow these food labels to read trans fat free if their product contained less than 500 milligrams of trans fats per serving. So here's the scam that they play on us, okay? What these companies do is that they just decrease their product serving sizes to be able to make the trans fats disappear, or to be able to label their product as being trans fat free. So you eat something that says trans fat free, you think it's healthy for you, however, it's loaded with trans fats, okay? And again, they did that by just changing the serving size. So an example of that would be this. You know, let's make this simple. Let's think of one of those little bags of potato chips that you put in your kids' lunches to send them off to school with. You know, maybe one of those little bags, if you send it to your kid, do they eat the whole bag, or do they eat 4 servings, and they at 4 times during the day they have 4 little servings of that? You know, obviously, you know, you get a little bag and you eat the whole thing. So let's say the whole bag has 1,000 milligrams of trans fats in there, but what the food company does, and they said, oh geez, well, we can't label that trans fat free, so you know what, let's just say that this bag is 4 servings. You get 2 potato chips for each serving. So now we take that 1,000 milligrams of trans fats, divide it by 4 for 4 servings, and we're only getting 225 milligrams of trans fats per serving. So therefore, since it's less than the 500 milligrams required by law, then now they can put on the label that it's trans fat free. So hopefully that makes sense and you understand the little scam. So we don't want our patients to be fooled, okay? If we look here on this Skippy peanut butter, on this label right here, it says no trans fat. We don't believe anything that's on their nice little pretty labels, okay? So it says no trans fat. What we want to do is teach our patients that, you know what? Let's see if they're telling the truth. Everybody, we need to start reading ingredient lists. So turn this peanut butter around and we look at the ingredients and it says freshly roasted peanuts, okay? Soybean oil, which is what? Trans fat. Maltodextrin's the sugar. But then we have hydrogenated vegetable oil. So again, anything hydrogenated is a trans fat. In fact, roasted peanuts, when we heat things, when we roast these nuts, that turns them a healthy fat into a trans fat as well. So we have a trans fat here with the roasted peanuts, we have trans fat with the soybean oil, and then we have a hydrogenated vegetable oil. So this thing is loaded with trans fat, sugar, trans fat, and then some salt. And they're telling us that this is really good, it's really healthy, and it's trans fat free. So don't be fooled. You don't look at this, look at the ingredients, okay? Let's talk a little bit about trans fat and the half-life of trans fats. Now, the half-life of a trans fat is 51 days. So what that means is this, is that if you eat trans fats, they've been altered by man, your body can't eliminate them, okay? They get stuck in, they congest your cellular wall, they cause blunting of your receptors, they cause cellular inflammation in your body, which then leads to heart disease and cancer. So, if you go and eat a small bag of French fries from McDonald's, in 51 days, you will finally have half of those things out of your body, okay? So, guess what that means? A lot of people think that in 102 days, then you'd finally have them all out of your body, but that's not true. See, half-lives don't work like that. So, in 51 days, you would have half of those damaging trans fats out of your body. In another 51 days, you would have half of that 50% that's still left over. So you still have 25% of those trans fats creating damage to those arterial walls. So in fact, that one little bag of French fries, in a year's time, you'll probably have a little, right around 1% of those trans fats still in your body. And when we have so many foods that have trans fats, it's just bioaccumulation. It just keeps on accumulating and causing all of these horrific inflammatory disease processes. Okay? So, you know, our kids never really ate McDonald's, and it was a big treat. And we used to, you know, maybe on their birthday, we would take them and say, okay, you can have some McDonald's fries. And then, you know, we came across this study, and we're like, wow, you know, we're giving them a big treat, thinking, you know, okay, well, it can't do that much damage. And then you find out that giving them that French fries is causing things that causes inflammation, cancer, and heart disease, and it damages their immune system and their bodies for a year. Well, maybe that's not the best treat for them, okay? So here's a lot of those products that contain trans fats. So your Fruit Loops, you know, granola bars, crackers, Girl Scout cookies. I always tell people, geez, these Girl Scouts, they're coming door to door trying to kill us. Just kidding. They don't know any better, right? But so, you know, anything that you find in the grocery store that is in a box, you know, basically that means it has a long shelf life. If it has a long shelf life, guess what? It's probably made with trans fats, not something that you want to put into your body. We talked about this a little bit already. So what do trans fats do? Again, fat in the brain and surrounding nerve cells is critical for nerve signal transmission. Your brain controls what? Every cell, every tissue, and every organ in your body. We also talked about that 70% of your brain and nerve system tissue is made up of what? Good, healthy fats. So when we eat these trans fats, they're just a chemical off of that healthy fat but they're man-made. Your body doesn't know what to do with it, so it tries to put this and make this into your brain tissue. Well, guess what? What happens when you start eating all these trans fats? It creates a lot of things, like people start getting symptoms of brain fog, inability to concentrate. You get a lot of things like hyperactivity, ADD, ADHD, anybody? Okay, so that's why we see these exponential rise in all of these problems with our youth. Okay, it used to be when, even when I was going to school, geez, I don't even think nobody was on these Ritalin and things of that nature. And now we have some areas where 1 in 5, 1 in 3 grade school kids are on these class 4 mind-altering drugs like Ritalin and whatnot. And again, a lot of this, the damage is caused by what we're putting into our mouths and what we're eating in our diet. So let's teach you. Sorry, I dropped my microphone. Let's teach you a little bit on what we want to do when we look at these labels. Again, if we look here, here is some raw organic coconut butter. Now, most people would turn this over and look at this serving size. Now, remember, we don't want to look at serving sizes a lot, because this is where those food companies alter the serving sizes to kind of, tell their own story. But if we look here, the average American looks at this and they're told that saturated fat is bad, and this says saturated fat 16 grams, which means one serving is 81% of your daily value. So, and it says trans fat is 0. Well, a lot of people would look at this and say, oh my goodness, 16 grams of saturated fat, that is horrible. I don't want that. That's bad. I'm going to keep that out of my body. But the fact of the matter is, this is raw, organic coconut butter. And I look at this and say, wow, this is amazing. Just one serving of this, and I can get 81% of what my body needs to replenish good, healthy brain cells. Okay, to make sure I get conjugated linoleic acid in my body to be able to burn fat, to make sure that I have the right ingredients to help build properly functioning cell walls, cushion my vital organs, etc. So this is actually something great that you want to consume. Okay, so again, healthy fats, like I stated, it's our #1 missing nutrient, and it's important for our hormones, our brain, our cell membranes, and also for weight loss with that CLA. So again, just remember, fat does not make you fat. It's your body's inability to burn fat that makes you fat. How does your body not have the ability to burn fat? By consuming trans fats that your body can't recognize. Okay? So we don't want to turn good fats into bad fats. Okay? And again, we do that by what? By heating and by hydrogenation. So we need to know the difference. So if we look here at these vegetable oils, if these were your choices at the grocery store, if we looked at this vegetable oil right here says Organics Biologique. Oh my goodness, it says organics on there, so that has to be healthy, right? Well, just because something says it's organic doesn't mean it's healthy. If we look down here, it says 100% pure canola oil. Remember, what was canola oil? Canola oil is trans fat, so this is not something that we'd want to consume. Then we have this here, and this is made out of 100% pure soy oil. Again, soy products are marketed as a big health product. 95% of all soy products are genetically modified, and soy oil is a trans fat, so this is not something that we would want. And again, we have something here. This has canola and olive oil blend. So just because you put a little bit of good in with something with bad doesn't take away the bad. So this is something we would not want. What we have here is our Carapelli, and this is extra virgin olive oil. That's all there is. So guess what? Which one do we choose? Right here, this extra virgin olive oil. So we want our extra virgin olive oil. That's a really good oil for low heat. If you're using this and it starts to smoke, then you damage the fat and you turn that healthy olive oil into a trans fat. So olive oil is great for cooking for low and medium heats as long as it doesn't smoke. Things that are good for the oil that's really good for high heat is your coconut oil. Okay. We want to beware of slick marketing. So again, if we look here, this is a salad dressing, and this is, look at this, this is Renee's Gourmet Wellness Salad Dressing. So, oh, well, it says wellness on there, it must be good. Again, we don't care about what the label tells us here. We want to turn it over, and we just want to read the ingredients, not we want the ingredient list. We don't want to be looking at the serving sizes, right? So at the ingredients, the very first one is what? Expeller pressed canola oil. What's that? That's a trans fat. So is that something you want to put into your body? No, absolutely not. Okay? So here's another salad dressing, and this is Lisa's Gourmet Salad Dressing. Okay, it looks pretty good. It says extra virgin olive oil. Okay, maybe good, maybe not. Let's turn it over and let's look and see what it's made of. We look at the ingredients and it says extra virgin olive oil, wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, water, salt, fresh garlic, spice, and seasonings. So again, these are all what, God-made foods. There's no trans fats in there, so this actually would be something that we could purchase and use. Here's some more slick marketing. So if we look at this Hellmann's mayonnaise, and it says, well, geez, this must be good because the Hellmann's is using what? Olive oil to make it. So this is mayonnaise made out of olive oil, and I just told you that olive oil is good. But can we believe it? I don't know. Let's turn it over. We'll look at the ingredients. Now, this is a little bit blurry here. Not a very good picture, but if you look here, it says ingredients. Very first thing is what? Canola and olive oil. So is this a good healthy fat or a trans fat? There's a trans fat. That's something we don't want to consume. Okay? And again, remember I said we don't want to damage our healthy fats. So if we look here, we have two types of almond butter here. They're both natural, but one is roasted and one is raw. Which one do you think is healthy and which one do you think is full of trans fats? Obviously the raw is healthy, okay? Because it's roasted, the almonds are roasted, it turns those healthy fats into trans fats. So high heat damages them, okay? Let's get into protein. Two problems with the meat that the majority of Americans are consuming. Toxic bioaccumulation and damaging, having healthy fats become damaged by denaturing fats and the essential fatty acid ratios that we find in our meat. Okay? So we'll talk about this in a little bit here. Commercial dairy, commercial dairy, they take the sickest and the weakest of the cows and they load them with antibiotics, with growth hormones, with vaccines. I have some more research at the office that shows the amount of pus that's in each serving. That's also processed with very high heat denaturing proteins, which again, once we start denaturing these proteins, it's not good for our body. It causes inflammatory responses. So, we really need to have, good whole raw milk. It's very hard to get those. So, listen, I love milk. If I had a gallon of milk in my refrigerator, I would drink the whole thing on a daily basis. But because I know how bad it is for me, we just don't buy it. We don't have it around. Let's talk a little bit about toxic bioaccumulation. Basically what that means is that, if we look at this little graph over here, this gives an example of toxic bioaccumulation. So this is the increasing mercury concentration. So you get a little bit of mercury in bacteria and phytoplankton, and then a little bit more, then the insects eat that, so they have a little bit more in their body, and then the small fish eat those insects and they have a little bit more. Then the bigger fish eat what? The smaller fish, so they have even more. And then we have the birds and the other animals that eat the fish, so they have even more toxic bioaccumulation, and then we eat that. So the concentration of these larger animals, it increases as it goes up the food chain. Okay, so when we look at herbivores, like our cows, they must eat, 10 grams of living plants to make 1 gram of itself, of its meat. Excuse me. And then carnivores will accumulate toxins 10 times greater than herbivores, which is 100 times more toxic than soils and plants. So what that means is that basically, a cow has to eat how much of these pesticides, all these grains that are loaded with pesticides when they grow it and whatnot, and it accumulates into their tissues, and then when we eat their tissue, we get all that toxic bioaccumulation. The next thing that's important with trying to get into the grass-fed beef is the fatty acid ratios, okay? Which is our omega-6 fatty acids to our omega-3 fatty acids, okay? So, listen, we're told over and over and over that meat is bad. Meat causes heart disease, because they look at these people with heart problems and get heart attacks, and they have these fatty acid ratios that are 50 to 1, 75 to 1, things of that nature. Well, a normal, healthy, ideal ratio for a healthy individual is a 4 to 1 ratio, 4 omega-6 fatty acids to 1 omega-3. Anywhere from 2 to 1 to 4 to 1. That's ideal ratio. If you have this ratio in your body, you're not going to get heart disease, you're not going to get cancer, things of that nature. Now again, the typical person in the United States has a fatty acid ratio of about 50 to 1. So we have this really bad problem of heart disease and cancer. Again, 2 leading causes of death, right? Well, look at this. What did God design cows to eat? Grain or grass? Cows were designed to eat grass. And when we see grass-fed beef, if we measure their fatty acid ratio of their meat, grass-fed beef has a fatty acid ratio of about 4 to 1. So when we then consume that meat, we can eat as much meat as we want if it's grass-fed, and it's not going to screw up our ratios, and we're not going to get heart disease and some of these other processes. Now, grain-fed cow, guess what their fatty acid ratio? Their fatty acid ratio gets changed to a 50 to 1 ratio. And then when we eat this grain-fed cow, our ratio becomes 50 to 1. Then we have heart attacks and we have all these problems. But then all the research states, hey, meat is bad. Don't eat meat. No, we can eat meat. Just make sure it's the right type of meat. It's not the meat that's the problem. It's what we've done to the meat. Okay? So, listen, my patients love it when they come in here because they've been battling cholesterol. They've been battling these fatty acid ratios. They've been battling high blood pressure and their heart disease and whatnot. And everything that they've been told is to stay away from meat, and they've been trying to eat like birds. And they come in here and we go, listen, you eat as much meat as you want. You eat at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just make sure that it's the types of meat you're eating is a natural source. And it has proper fatty acid ratios. And you know what happens? They start to eat that, and guess what happens to all their lab values? They start to come back into normal ranges. Okay, so the other thing that we find is that these big push to have all of these. There's a big push with fish oils out there. Because we want to get these omega-3s because everybody, a typical person is 51, so we need to have more omega-3s. So fish oil, fish oil, fish oil. That's what everybody talks about, but the best way to change that omega ratio is not supplementing with fish oil, it's changing the meats you're eating. So change that meats, and when you do get into supplementing with the omegas, we want to get those omegas at the right ratio, especially when we get our bodies into the right ratio. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into if you need to supplement. Okay, let's go into the processed carbs and sugar. This is the other big macronutrient that's a huge problem in our society and creating a lot of health issues with folks. Now, here's the 10 reasons that we need to avoid sugar. Okay, sugar is the primary dietary cause of obesity. It increases the acidity of the body. It causes inflammation. And remember what I said, inflammation is the root cause of what? Basically every disease process out there. Okay, it's the primary reason for high cholesterol. It causes hormone and metabolic imbalances. It causes diabetes. It's a known toxin. Leads to heart disease. It's an anti-nutrient. What does that mean? It means it takes more energy for your body to burn it than it gives you back. And it also promotes cancer. All right, so this is a little quote by Nobel Prize winner Dr. Otto Warburg, and he won the Nobel Prize for his cancer research back in 1931. And he said that cancer, above all other diseases, has countless secondary causes. But even for cancer, there is only one prime cause. Summarized in a few words, the prime cause of cancer is the replacement of the respiration of oxygen in normal body cells by a fermentation of what? Sugar. So sugar feeds cancer. Everything that we're consuming in the standard American diet is now made of sugar, and that is why we have these rising cancer rates, or at least one of the big contributors. Diabetes epidemic that we have right now. In the U.S., over 70 million people have diabetes. 1 in 2 are diabetic or pre-diabetic. So that means, 25% of the people out there are unaware they even have diabetes. So we have 1.5 million new cases are diagnosed each year, and nearly all cases are treatable and curable with proper diet and lifestyle changes. When we see people and they get diagnosed with a type 2 diabetes, and they're and they're going to their regular medical doctor, they'll put them on their insulin and their different things of that nature, and they'll be on those medications the rest of their life. And then they'll be on more and more and more medications, and it's just treating symptoms, and the next thing you know, they get older and they're getting glaucoma, they're cutting off their limbs and things of that nature. It's sad because it is the easiest thing to completely reverse type 2 diabetes. I love it when my patients come into my office because I've seen this reversed in as little as 3 weeks. Lab values and everything. So just stick with it. Your body, again, is a self-healing, self-regulating organism. That's how you were designed. You just got to make sure that we're doing the right things. So your body has the opportunity to begin healing and repairing itself to its best ability possible. So, look at this. Type 2 diabetes was once known as adult onset, okay? But they changed that adult onset diabetes to what? Type 2, because guess who was getting diabetes at a younger and younger age? Yes, you're right, all of our kids, okay? So, again, now we have kids as young as 5 years old being treated with all these prescription diabetic meds, okay? So, this is a study out of Wake Forest University. Basically, the risk of heart failure in patients taking diabetes drugs can be up to 100% higher than in those who forego the treatments for those diabetes. Bet you didn't know that. So, more than 65% of all people with diabetes eventually die of what? Heart disease. So, some people think diabetes isn't that big of a deal. Well, it's going to cause a heart attack. It's going to, and all those other horrendous problems. Now, I have a lot of patients that say, oh, that's good because I don't eat much sugar. Well, you know what? You do eat a lot of sugar. So, how much sugar do we consume? Well, high fructose corn syrup has increased from 0 in 1966 to 63 pounds per person per year in 2001. Okay, and it keeps getting worse. High fructose corn syrup has caused an increase in daily intake from 27 teaspoons per day in 2004 to 53 teaspoons per day in 2006. So in 3 years, we've basically more than doubled that. Or, that equals 1 5-pound bag of sugar every 10 days for every man, woman, and child. That is the averages. Now, a lot of time, again, people say, well, geez, I don't eat any sugar. There's no way I eat a 5-pound bag of sugar. Well, you know what? Let's go a little bit further, and you'll see that you do, because there's a lot of hidden sources for this sugar. So where does sugar come from? Well, give you a little lesson here real quick. When we start reading ingredient labels, anything that ends in OSE is a sugar. So anything that has glucose, sucrose, fructose, lactose, those are all sugars, okay? Where else do we get sugar? Well, we get sugar from our corn and our corn derivatives. So corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, corn oil, cornmeal, cornstarch, dextrose, there's that OSG. We have MSG, xanthan gum, maltodextrin, we saw that earlier. We also have our original sources, okay? Maple sugar, maple syrup, sugar cane, cane juice. So these are all it's not all of them, but this is the majority of where sugar comes from our diet. Okay. Now, a third of all the sugar intake for most Americans is from soft drinks. Okay. So each Coke has 9.5 teaspoons of sugar in it. Okay. So a third comes from soft drinks, 2/3 comes from hidden sources. So these are things including like your lunch meats, your pizza, sauces, breads, soups, crackers, fruit drinks, canned foods, yogurt, ketchup, mayonnaise, things of that nature. So again, let's look at that. Let's look at soda, that number one source. 1/3 of dietary sugar comes from all soft drinks. That's what I just explained to you. So, and the average American drinks 55 gallons of pop or soda per year. Now, I don't really drink any of it, so that means that there's some people out there drinking 110 gallons, right? You know, high fructose corn syrup is the number one source of sugar and calories in the United States. And I already explained to you that, it's gone from 0 in 1966 to 63 pounds per person in 2001. Here's the other problem with sugar. Sugar changes the pH in your body. Now, your pH is really critical. So basically, we want to have right around a 7 to have a neutral pH for your body to function properly. Okay? So we want a neutral pH in our body for all of our cells and for our body to be able to function at the right level. When we get things too acidic, then we start getting disease processes. And when we get things too alkaline, we start getting disease processes. Okay? So, balanced alkaline and acid relations are key to having really good health. So, any number lower than 7.3, again, down the scale, is acidic, and any number higher than this 7 or 7.3 is alkaline. Now, each number away from 7 is equivalent to being 10 times worse. So, if somebody has a pH of 6, it is 10 times more acidic than a pH of 7. That means that a pH of 5 would mean 10 times 10. This person is 100 times more acidic than this person. Okay? Well, a can of soda has a pH of 2.5, right around here. So that means, if you do the math, one can of soda is 50,000 times more acidic than a neutral, natural environment. Okay? So again, all disease processes, including cancer, okay, they thrive in these acidic environments. So not only are you getting the sugar causing problems from the soda, but it also changes the pH to something that creates 50,000 times more acidic state in your body than neutral. So if I have people that say, oh, I can't do without my Coke, I gotta have my Coke. Okay, well, if you want to have your Coke, there's one thing I want you to do. If you look here, go ahead and drink your Coke, but each time you drink a Coke, I want you to drink 30 cups of water to neutralize that one can of soda. So as long as you're drinking 30 cups of water, you're going to neutralize that. I highly doubt anybody is doing that, especially if they're drinking those big gulps or those 2-liter bottles. Okay? And that might help the acidity, but you're still getting the problems from all the sugar in the high fructose corn syrup in there as well. So, you know what, guys? Stop the Coke. It's horrible. It's killing you. It's just not good at all. The hidden sources, I already kind of went over this. This is where we find sugars, again, all your pastas, lunch meats, canned foods, things of that nature. So basically, boy, people think they're eating healthy when they go to Subway. Listen, all this stuff, the bread is sugar. All of these processed lunch meats, okay, are loaded with sugars in there. So that Subway sub is not something healthy. That's not something that you want to eat. Okay. All right, let's get into a little bit of reading labels properly. So if we look here, here's a Nutri-Grain bar. So, this is from Kellogg's. It says nutrition, grain. Ooh, I know grains are good. I've heard that that's good. So Nutri-Grain, this must be really, really good. So I'm going to pack this in my lunch, or I'm going to give it to my kids and send them off to school, and I'm a good mom, I'm a good dad, or you're eating it yourself, you think, boy, I'm eating healthy. And then you look over here, most people look at this at nutrition facts where they're doing the serving size and all the percentages. This is usually where people look, and this is where they get tricked by the food companies, and they look here and they go, oh, let's look at the calories. 140 calories, only 25 from fat. So let me see. Saturated fat, oh yeah, that's right, I heard that was bad. Only 3%. Man, this must be really, really good for me. Well, again, we do not look at any of this. We want to turn it over, okay, and we want to look at the ingredients. We want to look at the ingredients. So the next page, let's look here. Here's the ingredients of this so-called healthy Nutri-Grain bar. So what I want you to do is we're going to read through this ingredient list, and we're just kind of going to go over how much sugar is in this healthy, so-called healthy bar. So if we look here, we have some filling and raspberry preserves, and then which are made up of what? High fructose corn syrup. What's that? That's a sugar. Okay, then we get some raspberries, and then we have what? Corn syrup. What's that? Sugar. And then after that, we have high fructose what? Corn syrup, which is sugar. And then we have glycerin, which is sugar. Fructose ends in OSE. That's what? Sugar. And then, oh, we didn't have enough sugar in there before, so what do we add? Let's add a little bit of sugar. Maltodextrin, what was that? That's another sugar. Then we have some water. Natural and artificial raspberry flavor. Okay, well, anything that says natural or artificial raspberry flavor, why isn't it just raspberries? That's some sort of chemical that was put in there. Modified cornstarch, that's something that turns into sugar really fast as soon as you consume it. Sodium alginate, citric acid, calcium phosphate, soy lecithin. Okay, again, soy, that's a genetically modified food. Xanthan gum, that's a what? That's a sugar. Modified cellulose, OSE is what? Sugar. Caramel color, malic acid. Then we have these red number 40s and blue number 1s. These dyes that they put in here are neurotoxins. They're horrible for your body. Okay, these are the things to make this nice, to make this look like it's appealing to eat. Okay, then we have enriched wheat flour, which is a refined flour, which turns into sugar 5 seconds after you put it in your mouth. And then we have, right here, we have whole oats. Finally, we get something that's healthy. Okay, so I always tell people, you know, you see these little flakes right here? Maybe those are the whole oats. So if you just go around this bar and just pick off those little flakes and eat those, then maybe that's not a bad thing to do. Then we have some more sugar because we didn't get enough up here. Then we have some partially hydrogenated soybean and or cottonseed oil. Well, that's not sugar. That's what? That's a trans fat. So we have some damaged fats in there that take 51-day half-life to get out of your system. And then let's throw in some more high fructose corn syrup. And then let's add some honey. Well, it's natural, but it's still what? Sugar. And then we get calcium carbonate, dextrose, OSE, another sugar. Dry milk, wheat bran. We'll get some salt, cellulose gum, OSE, another sugar. And then some more natural and artificial flavors, another genetically modified food with the soy lecithin. Then we get some wheat gluten, some cornstarch, another sugar. And then down here they throw in a couple vitamins. They add some vitamins in there, and they, you know, basically when they do that, they say it's fortified with these vitamins and minerals for your health. They put a couple things at the very end. They strip all the goodness out of it. They take, you know, 1,000 good natural ingredients out, and they put 2 vitamins back in there, and they tell you that it's fortified and really great for you. So as you can see, this entire thing is sugar, damaged fats, and genetically modified foods. You know, there's no difference between this and a Snickers bar, except that this, you think that you're doing something healthy for yourself and for your family. Okay? So now you can start to understand the hidden sugars and how people are getting eating 5-pound bag of sugar, you know, every so often. Townhouse crackers, again, when we look here, which we don't want, we look here, saturated fat, only 5%, trans fat, no trans fats. Remember, look, it says no trans fats. Because their serving size is what? 5 crackers. So that all this means is that if you eat just 5 crackers, you have less than 500 milligrams. Okay. Again, let's go and see if this actually doesn't have trans fats. We're going to look at the ingredient list, and it says enriched flour, which is what? Sugar. Okay, then we have some reduced iron, some B1, some B2, folic acid. Then we have partially hydrogenated soybean and or cottonseed oil. What is that? That is a damaged trans fat. So again, they're lying to us. Also with TBHQ for freshness. Okay, what is TBHQ? That's lighter fluid, you guys. But they put that on there for freshness for you. Then we have some sugar. So again, this is some corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, soy lecithin. Again, it's horrible. Let's look here. Salt. You'd think you'd be able to get some salt without sugar in it, but again, you better read the ingredients. Here we have ingredients for this salt is what? Salt, calcium silicate, and invert sugar. So it has sugar. We have sugar even in our salt. They're trying to addict us. They do all this sugar to try to addict you, to get you addicted to their food, so you crave it more and more and more. When you guys first start to transition into healthy eating, the first couple weeks are going to be horrible. You're going to be yelling at me and thinking bad things about us, because you're actually going to be going through withdrawals, because these things are chemically manufactured in a lab. They put sugars in it and neurotoxins in it to get you addicted. There's no difference from changing your diet and stopping smoking or chewing or drinking. Okay, you will go through withdrawals, but just realize if we can get through the first 2 weeks, you're going to be on your way to health and recovery. White breads, again, anything refined turns into sugar. So how they make all these refined breads is they start out with a highly sprayed grain. They strip it all of its vitamins and minerals and the fiber. They bleach it and they process it. And again, when we consume this, it immediately turns into sugar when it hits the mouth. So again, it causes tremendous spikes in our blood sugar and our insulin, and they're usually combined with bad fats and sugar. So, you know, we look at this white bread. Here's the ingredient list. Here's a good rule of thumb, guys. If you can't pronounce the ingredients, don't eat it, because it's made in the lab. It's toxic to you. Okay. So the less ingredients, the better. When we're looking at bread, what should bread have for ingredients? You know, flour and water. And look at how many ingredients we have here. We have some high fructose corn syrup. They throw in some vitamins. They have, just garbage all the way through here. So look at these Keebler crackers. These little sneaky elves are trying to get to us. We look at the ingredients here. Enriched flour. Again, that's going to turn into sugar. Then we have our vegetable oil, which is our damaged fat or trans fat. Then we have some soybean oil, same thing. We have some sugar and some more corn syrup sugar. So, and we have a genetically modified food. So, not very good for us to eat. What are some good acceptable grains? Well, on the core plan, Kashi makes some good stuff. You can go to different stores. You find this in the frozen section, okay? Ezekiel bread. Anything that says whole, sprouted, or stone ground is something that we can have, okay? But again, usually you're going to find these in the refrigerated section, because real food is going to decompose. Okay, it'll get moldy. It's going to go bad. So you have to keep it refrigerated. Stuff that's on the shelves, if you get whole wheat bread that's sitting out on the shelf, guess what? Look at the ingredient list, because I guarantee you it's full of sugar, and it's full of trans fats, damaged fats, things like that. Diet soft drinks. Hey, fine, I won't have Coke anymore because it's got a lot of sugar, so I'll just drink diet because that's better for me. That's the perfect solution. It has no calories. It tastes good. I'm a diabetic, so I can drink it. It's not going to cause weight gain. What's the problem with diet soft drinks? Well, what's worse than sugar? Artificial sweeteners. Again, these are highly carcinogenic because our bodies can't recognize that these sweeteners are made in labs, and they cause cancer. Anything that's not natural and your body can't get rid of causes cellular dysfunction, and cellular dysfunction, that's what cancer is. Okay? So let's look at Splenda. Splenda's big tagline is that, you know, Splenda, you know, tastes like sugar because it's made from sugar. Okay, but when we look at the process of how they make it, let's see if this really is something you want to put into your body. So basically, Splenda, they start off with sucrose, which is a naturally occurring sugar. Okay, so they take sucrose and then they tritylate that with trityl chloride in the presence of dimethylfluoramide and 4-methylmorpholine, and the trilated sucrose is then acetylated with acetic anhydride. So the resulting trypsa 616 tritylpenta-O-acetyl sucrose is then chlorinated with hydrogen chloride in the presence of toluene. The resulting 4-PAS sucrose 2,3,4,3,4-pentaacetate is then heated in the presence of methyl isobutyl ketone and acetic acid. The resulting 6-PAS sucrose 2,3,6,3,4-pentaacetate is then chlorinated with thionyl chloride in the presence of toluene and benzyl triethyl ammonium chloride, and the resulting TOSPA, sucralose pentaacetate, is treated with methanol, which is a wood alcohol and a poison, in the presence of sodium methoxide to finally produce what is known as sucralose. So what started as a sugar molecule is now chemically named 1,6-dichloro-1,6-dideoxy-beta-D fructofuranosyl 4-chloro-4-deoxy-alpha-D galactopyranoside. And they want you to believe that this Splenda is something healthy for you. Okay? Excuse the phone going off. So, really, your body can't even recognize this. It can't process it. Okay? So you got to stay away from these. They're highly carcinogenic. So if sugar is bad and sugar substitutes are worse, then what do we use as a sweetener? Well, there's good natural alternatives, sweeteners that you want to use. My favorite is the stevia. Okay, again, read the ingredients, because now we have companies like Coke and some of these other big conglomerates who are purchasing. They're getting into the health food market, and they'll take your healthy stevia and then they'll add some high fructose corn syrup to it as well, and hope you don't read the label, trying to make it taste better or whatnot, or make it even sweeter. But stevia, xylitol, those are two good ones that you need to be aware of and start using. We'll go into a little bit about toxins, not a lot. That's for another video for you, but our foods are loaded with them, so we need to explain some of the problem with our food supply and toxins. You know, the FDA has approved approximately 3,000 different food additives and preservatives and colorings, and the average person ingests about 150 pounds of additives every single year. Okay? Now again, people say, there's no way I eat 150 pounds of toxic additives. Well, guess what? It's hidden. So this gives you a sample. This is the ingredient list of a Burger King milkshake. So if we just look at this ingredient list, what does it say here? Well, we have amyl acetate, amyl butyrate, amyl valerate, anethol, anisole formate, benzyl acetate, benzyl isobutyrate, butyric acid, cinnamyl isobutyrate, on and on and on and on and on. Chemical, 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 chemical. The whole thing is chemicals. Basically, when you're eating a milkshake from Burger King, a strawberry milkshake to be precise, there's no strawberries and there's no milk in there. Basically, this is a chemical sludge that has been made in a lab to make you think that you're drinking strawberries and milk. So, think of that before you order some of this stuff next time. It's horrendous. Lunchables. You know, these are 22% of Oscar Mayer sales. They do $500 million per year. Okay, in these Lunchables, and we're putting these in our kids' lunch pails and sending them off to school, thinking, you know, that we're giving them healthy foods. And again, if we just look at the ingredient list, we don't need to go all the way through this, but just look at how many ingredients we have. If we have this many ingredients, we know this can't be good. And it's a lot of stuff that we can't pronounce, a lot of chemical sounding names. This is not something that we want to be eating. Again, we can really quickly look through here, and we have some aspartame, okay, which is not good. We have our red 40s, has phenylalanine, we have sugar, soy lecithin, xanthan gum, modified cornstarch, on and on and on. You can look through here, and here's some more sugar and some vegetable oil and some soybean oil, and you know, I would venture to guess that 95% of all these ingredients are horrible and cause inflammation in the body. Chicken McNuggets, you know, here's the ingredients for a chicken McNugget. I mean, what should be in a chicken McNugget? What should be the ingredients be? It should be chicken, right? I mean, that's it. It should be chicken. So we look at chicken McNuggets, and what do we have here? Well, we have chicken, water, salt, modified cornstarch, phosphates, and then we have seasonings. We have yellow corn flour, modified cornstarch, all soybean oil, hydrogenated stuff, partially hydrogenated. Then again, we have this TBHQ, right, to help preserve freshness. So basically 38 ingredients, most of them from corn. So basically all this sugar and all these damaged fats and toxins in our body from these chicken McNuggets. Here's some of the alarming nugget ingredients that we went over. It has anti-foaming agents like this dimethyl polysiloxane, and according to the Handbook of Food Additives, this material is a suspected carcinogen and an established mutagen, tumorogenic, and reproductive effector. And it's also flammable. So what does this mean? It means it mutates cells, it causes tumors, and it's a reproductive effector, so it messes with your reproductive system. Okay? Now that TBHQ that we've seen in some of these foods, remember, to preserve freshness, that stands for tertiary butyl hydroquinone, or TBHQ. Again, that's derived from petroleum. It's sprayed directly onto the nugget or the inside of the box. It comes in to help preserve freshness. Again, according to a Consumer Dictionary of Food Additives, TBHQ is a form of butane, which is lighter fluid. The FDA allows processors to use sparingly in our food. It can compromise no more than 0.02% of the oil in a nugget, which is probably just as well, considering that ingesting a single gram of TBHQ can cause nausea, vomiting, ringing in the ears, delirium, a sense of suffocation, and collapse. Ingesting 5 grams can be fatal. Okay, so what happens when, you know, listen, they say, oh, well, it's not bad if it's just a little tiny bit in there. It'll preserve the freshness, and it's not a big deal. But when every single food product has this little tiny bit, it accumulates in our body. And when it starts to accumulate, we may start getting symptoms like nausea, vomiting, ringing in the ears. And then we have these symptoms, and we go to the doctor, and what do they give us for these symptoms? They give us a whole bunch of medications so we don't have these symptoms, which causes more inflammation, more blunting of the receptor cells, and abnormal function of the body and ill health. So it's just a big positive feedback loop. So again, where do we get most of these toxins, and where are they found? You know, all of our seasons and packaged foods that I explained. So, you know, anything like your pasta or rice mixes, things with the flavor packet, you know, soups, soup mixes, chips, frozen meals. It's just really, really, you know, stuff you don't want to put into your body. Most common toxin is MSG. That's an excitotoxin. A lot of people are highly allergic and have severe reactions to this. Some MSG poisoning symptoms include headaches and migraines, sterility, cancer, mood swings, depression, hyperactivity, asthma, heart irregularities, endocrine disruptions. So again, we start getting headaches, right? We start taking medications for our headaches. We start getting depression. We go get on some depressants. Our kids become hyperactive. We give them some, you know, class 4 narcotics and Ritalin. We get asthma. You start getting inhalers. So we start getting all these symptoms because of MSG and these toxins. And the answer to curing this is not treating the symptoms with the medications, but stop poisoning yourself in the first place. Now, people have caught on that MSG is bad and it's not good for you. So what do food companies do? They change the name so you don't recognize it. So MSG aliases, if you see anything hydrolyzed vegetable protein, anything hydrolyzed or anything autolyzed, yeast extract, sodium caseinate, those are another names. You see those on the food ingredient list. That's the same thing as MSG being listed there. So I gave you a lot of information. So hey, what do we do now? What do we do? What can you do to start changing your diet? Well, first you want to, keep educating yourself. Learn these renewed principles for yourself, okay? Sign up for our monthly health emails. You can go to www.realhealthslns.com. Sign up, get on the email list. Stop poisoning yourself and your family, okay? I tell every one of my clients, every one of my patients, the best way to be successful in changing your diet is, go through this a couple times, understand the ingredient and label reading, grab a paper bag, or not a paper bag, grab a trash bag, go through your house and dump all the bad stuff. Get rid of it, get it out of your house, because if you then go to the grocery store, it will cost you a little bit of money, but you know what? Why keep poisoning yourself? You're going to spend more money in health-related issues in the future than it's going to cost you right now to throw that garbage out, okay? I have people that tell me, well, I don't want to waste it. You're not wasting anything. Don't put that stuff in your body because you're creating damage. That's like saying that, well, I have this really bad gas for my car and there's water in it, but I already paid for it, so I'm still going to put it in my car. You would never do it. You'd throw it out because it's going to damage your car. Well, you already paid for this damaged food, but it's going to damage your body, okay? Get rid of it. The best thing that you can do if you're suffering from the health issues and if you are, whether it's being overweight, whether it is have a high blood pressure or type 2 diabetes or asthma or allergies or cancer, or I don't care what it is, it's important for your body to have the right nutrients and ingredients so your body can heal and repair itself. Again, you heard me say it 1,000 times, God doesn't make junk. He made your body to be a self-healing, self-regulating organism. You just got to start doing the right thing. Give it a chance to heal and repair. So, we have the book from that we gave you, and there's 2 different eating plans in there. We have the core eating plan and the advanced eating plan. So in a nutshell, very, very, very basic, the core eating plan, our fats, we want to replace we want to get rid of bad fats and replace them with good fats. So we want to eat more healthy fats and eliminate the damaged fats. Our proteins, first thing you want to change, most critical, we want naturally raised versus unnaturally raised animal products, okay? So we want our grass-fed beef, we want our free-range chicken, okay? Those Pacific fish, okay? And smaller fish like sardines because they're lower on that toxicity load. And what do we want to do with carbs? Well, we want to eliminate all of our sugars, obviously, and we want to get rid of all the things, our refined carbs. So we want to change to our whole carbs, so whole, stone ground, things like that. We want to eat a lot more vegetables, okay? Get away from the refined grains and sugars. We'll get a lot of our carbs. Vegetables have carbs. So we're eating so many more vegetables, that's where we're getting a lot of our carbs, carbohydrates. Now the difference between the core plan and the advanced plan, very, very minor, okay? Basically, the protein's the exact same, okay? Protein's the exact same. The fats, we're still going to get rid of the bad fats, replace with good fats. However, on the advanced plan, all we're going to do is we're not going to start really increasing our fat intake until after 1 to 2 weeks of starting the plan. Why? Because your body needs that amount of time to transition into being a fat burner to be able to utilize that fat for energy. Okay, so we just wait a little bit before we start implementing a lot of these good healthy fats. And the other thing on the advanced plan is we're going to eliminate sugars, all of our refined sugars, and even our healthy carbs, okay? Even our healthy grains, not healthy carbs, our healthy grains. So even that whole grain bread or the stone ground bread, we need to eliminate that too. And a lot of our fruits, even though they're healthy fruits, okay, we need to eliminate it. So all of our fruits, except for like things on the lower glycemic index, so our berries and our Granny Smith apples. Why is that? Even though these are, like your bananas, your oranges, things like that, even though those are good healthy foods, we have been sugar burners for so long that putting even a healthy sugar into your body, that still creates damage and inflammation. So we have to eliminate even healthy sugars for a while to give your body a chance to heal and repair itself at the cellular level, so then you can go forward and reach your goals. So, who does the advanced eating plan? The advanced eating plan is for those, we used to call this the healing diet. Basically, this is for those people who, they need to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. They have some sort of health condition. They have high blood pressure. They have high cholesterol. They have type 2 diabetes. They have asthma. They have allergies. Some sort of problem they're dealing with. You need to do this advanced eating plan or this healing diet. How long do you do it for? Well, you do it for as long as it takes for you to reach your goals or for your body to heal. That's different for everybody. Some people may need to be on this advanced plan for 3 months, and then all of a sudden, maybe their blood work comes down or they lose their 15 pounds and they get to a normal level, and then you transition over into, from the advanced plan into the core eating plan. So basically you're just increasing some of those good healthy fruits and some of the good healthy carbs like your Ezekiel breads and stuff like that. It may take somebody else who's extremely sick. They've had a ton of damage in their body, and it's going to take a while for their body to repair. So maybe they're on this advanced plan for a year, maybe 2 years. Does that make sense? So you do this for as long as it takes for your body to heal and recover for the damage that has been done over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years of improper eating. Now, I think that is it. A little bit longer video, but there's a lot of information. Get into that book. Read the book we gave you. Get through those chapters. Also, on the Health Coach in your Files tab, give you a lot of different tools for you to utilize with different recipes, different ingredients lists, shopping lists, things of that nature. So we want to try to make this as easy as possible for you, but hey, educate yourself. Hopefully you've learned a little bit today and you can be excited, set your goals, look at your big why and why you're doing that, and just realize, listen, just get through the first 2 weeks. Tell yourself, I don't care what's going to happen, I'm going to get through these first 2 weeks, because once you make it through and get through that phase of withdrawal, it gets so much easier, and it's just how you eat now. It's very simple, and your health and how you feel is going to benefit tremendously. Thanks for sharing this time with me. God bless, and we'll talk to you later.